It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of the show. Thank you, Chad Erickson. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes of this broadcast. And guess what? Yesterday was Sam Free. Today it's Heavy Sam. Heavy Sam. That could be like a rapper name for you. Heavy Sam. I like that. I kind of like that. You know? No? Not you just no? Is your earpiece not working? No? So we got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes, Sam. We'll get a lot of NFL. We'll get into a lot of NFL throughout the course of the show. First half of the show, in fact. We'll do some NFL. We got Contender, Pretender coming up a little later on. We got some baseball to talk about beyond the World Series, but certainly a lot on the World Series. Something to consider, home field advantage or home field disadvantage. We'll get into that. Odds and ends with some conversation around tonight's Thursday night NFL game and a couple of things you just got to see to believe. But, Sam, we start things out in the National Football League, and let's talk about Derrick Henry. Could he have it is remarkable. And I don't think in the course of this show over the first 7 weeks of the NFL season, I don't think we've spent enough time talking about Derrick Henry and what he's done. Because, we're talking about a guy that has been a huge difference maker in the running game for this Ravens team. And now you've got Lamar Jackson saying that Derrick Henry has a chance that he thinks he can break the rushing record. He's on pace for 2,120 yards. That would pass Eric Dickerson's 40-year-old record, by the way. Eric Dickerson autographed football behind us. Dickerson ran for 2,105 yards for the Rams in 1984. Keep in mind that was one less game. But what do you think when you hear Lamar Jackson waxing poetic? It also shows me a little bit more on the leadership side of Lamar Jackson. I think 3 or 4 years ago, he might have handled having a player like a Derrick Henry a little differently than he handles it now. I think he appreciates that kind of talent and that kind of assistance on the offensive side of the ball a lot more now. But what do you think of the idea of Derrick Henry being able to pass Eric Dickerson's number, albeit with one more game?
Yeah, so I think that this is going to become commonplace, Jason. If you'll remember, this time last year, we were having this exact same discussion about Tyreek. Actually, maybe it was a week earlier last year. I think it was week 7. But there were hanging odds for Tyreek Hill to set the single season all-time receiving record. These are just things that we're going to see come up every year now in this expanded schedule. And, we heard Roger Goodell earlier this season talk about a new proposition for a schedule that adds another game and makes the Super Bowl President's Day weekend. So, Jason, this is going to become something that we're talking about year in and year out. As long as we continue to add games to the season, guys that's going to make the records breakable. Every record is going to be breakable.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Jerry Jones is talking. And when Jerry Jones is talking, there's bound to be something that comes out of it that is of interest. And in this case, it was about Derrick Henry. Asked on his weekly radio hit with 105.3 The Fan, which apparently he did not get the announcers fired yet. Jerry Jones on not signing Derrick Henry. Quote, I would play the quote, but we'd be here for 7 minutes just to get through this many words. So I'm not going to do it because Jerry takes a long time to get to the point. Derrick is having a career year. I don't know if he'd be having a career year in our situation. We don't run that type of offense at all. Derrick didn't fit principally due to managing the cap. So don't give me the first 3 lines. Just say he didn't make sense because of managing the cap.
Yeah. This is nonsensical also because Jerry, so first of all, Cowboys famously spent like $18 million in free agency this year. For reference, that's the fewest of any teams in the NFL. And I think it was the fewest by a lot. I believe there was like a $4 million discrepancy between them and the team in 31st. Saquon Barkley's cap hit this year is cheaper than Derrick Henry's. You could have gone out and gotten Saquon Barkley, who for all intents and purposes is having basically as good of a season as Derrick Henry is, minus 1 week, 2 weeks if you want to count the dropped catch week. Minus 2 weeks, you could have had him for $1.5 million cheaper. And you're going to tell me that didn't fit inside the salary cap? It's a nonsensical argument from an owner that has seemingly gone off the rails. Like, over the last 30 years of Cowboys losing, because, folks, it has been 30 years of the Cowboys losing, Jerry Jones has somehow been able to keep himself composed under the justification of, well, we'll still have a chance because we'll still be in the playoffs. They're not going to be in the playoffs this year, and he's melting down. It tells you a lot about where they are as an organization and where they need to go.
Speaking of melting down, the New England Patriots are 1-6. And Kirk Minihane, who used to be a personality over at WEEI, who I've had some interaction with, we'll just say, over the years. Kirk said in his podcast recently that within 48 hours, Gerard Mayo could be fired. Now, I take that all with a grain of salt because nobody who actually covers the team is reporting that. But that being said, there does seem to be a lot of smoke to the idea of how this team is responding right now. The comments with him calling them soft, coming off that loss against a hapless Jaguars team. And it does kind of make you wonder, in concert with the news that we found out of Robert Kraft basically admitting that he was the heir apparent to Bill Belichick, and selected years ago and still serving on the staff of Bill Belichick. A lot of weirdness in that Patriots situation.
Yeah, it is. First of all, and you and Kirk may have had your differences, I've got to offer a hat tip for the level of satire that this story has made it all the way to this show. Obviously, this is not the truth, and I don't think Kirk Minihane meant this to be understood as the truth at any point. He said in that same show that Kamala Harris could be the next coach of the New England Patriots. So, like, we need to take everything with a grain of salt.
That's what I said, grain of salt.
All of that said, you are definitely on to something here, Jason Page. There is a culture issue in that Patriots locker room. We saw it with the mutiny and getting Drake May to start. I don't know where they're going. They're falling apart.
Yeah, this is going to be a long year, but we thought it would be a long year for that team. They are talent depleted. So you know what? Go get yourself another top flight pick. Or maybe you trade down since you got Drake May. We'll see what they do. We're coming back. We got more NFL news and notes to get to on the show. Also, Contender, Pretender a little later on. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's move it to segment 2. Coming up in 10 minutes, Contender, Pretender. A Week 8 NFL edition. Rams, Vikings kicks off the NFL Week 8 slate on Prime Video on Thursday night. Sam Yarnell, let's talk about some more of the top stories going on around the league. A lot of MVP discussion. We're getting to that part of the year, about almost halfway through the season for most teams, and a lot of conversation around who should be the NFL's most valuable player. We were talking about it. We had Matt Verderam on the other day, and I said, I'm astonished at Patrick Mahomes' number being plus 470, and I think he agrees. And he thinks in all likelihood Mahomes will not win the MVP, but at the same time, he makes a very good point. If they go and put up, a 16-1 or a 15-2, certainly not out of the realm of possibility. They've already had the most difficult schedule through the first 6 or 7 games of the season here, and they are undefeated. And the other aspect is, he thinks the reason that the number is where it is, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Sam. He thinks the reason the number is second best in Vegas, or on FanDuel in this case, is that the odds makers are expecting he can't possibly play this bad over the duration of the season. And if he plays above and beyond what he has, and they do put up a huge number win total wise, that will curry him some favor when it comes to MVP votes. What do you think?
So it's an interesting. So I didn't think about that because the comparison, obviously, like we're saying it without saying it, we're comparing this team to the 2007 Patriots. Okay, we're on that level now. Tom Brady won the MVP that year. I just went back and looked. Here's the difference to me. That team in 2007, wow, like the Chiefs, had an all-time defense. You can look back at that 2007 Patriots defense, not just from the numbers they put up, but from the Hall of Famers on that team, and it's jaw-dropping. Tom Brady's touchdown to interception ratio in 2007 was 50-8. And I'm not even counting the rushing touchdowns. We're halfway through the season. Patrick Mahomes has thrown as many interceptions as he has touchdowns.
Yeah.
End of discussion. We can compare these two teams all we want. The defenses, again, in my mind, and again, when we look back at this Chiefs defense in 10 years, is going to be one of the all-time defenses. They're very comparable when we're talking about the second greatest regular season team of all time. Might be stretching top 5 greatest regular season team of all time for sure. And this Chiefs team, defense is very comparable. Quarterbacks on completely different levels. Their quarterback won the MVP. This quarterback won't. I'll stick with my preseason MVP pick at Josh Allen, but I think it's Lamar Jackson's award to lose right now, Jason.
I got to be honest. I'd put Jared Goff right there. I mean, if you want a dark horse, if you want value, we always like to spot the values here. To me, Goff at 700, 7-1 right now, is the guy that I would be throwing. Matter of fact, I might go do that tonight. It's Thursday.
Well, and the value
I'm going
on
down
that,
to the Aria. I may have to do that.
The value on that has come crashing down as well. So get in while you can. That number was 12-1 after last Sunday. So just during this week, it's been almost cut in half. Especially with Baker Mayfield losing his 2 most important weapons, I think we can kind of eliminate the small chance he had at that award. And Sam Darnold crashing back to earth, yeah, I think it's a good look for Jared Goff. Get in while you can. Jordan Love, if he limits the interceptions to, maybe a good look, but he's going to have a Favre-esque.
Can I throw another one out there? And I know he's not going to get it because there are some voters out there that think Rookie of the Year is set aside for rookies. But Jaden Daniels at 34-1. I mean, a unit? I mean, something? I mean, yeah, 34-1 is a big number for a guy that's done what he's done so far.
So I don't know if the last player to win rookie of the year and the MVP in the same year was it Jim Brown? I'm not sure. I'll have to do the research. I think it's interesting to have that conversation in the context of Week 8 because obviously going into this matchup between Jaden and Caleb, this Bears-Commanders game. If you would have looked at me 5 years ago and said a Bears-Commanders game in 2024 is going to be the game of the week, that game's going to be the game of the week, and I might have hit you back in the day. So if Caleb wins this week, if Jaden plays, you got to take a look at Caleb to win that award too, because over the last 6 weeks, Caleb Williams has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Jim Brown, 1957. Last player to win both the NFL Rookie of the Year and MVP. Yep.
So I was right.
You are. Yes. Yeah, I was validating. Let's
go.
Speaking of some validation, Robert Saleh, Sam Yarnell's favorite NFL head coach, who is no longer a head coach, is now pitching in with the Green Bay Packers. And you know what? Kudos to Matt LaFleur. And I'll say this. There's a lot of guys who are not comfortable in their own skin, who don't have a ton of self-confidence, who would not take a guy that was just basically, thrown onto the trash heap and bring him in, knowing that he had just been an NFL head coach. Could he undermine what I'm doing? And I get their relationship goes back a long way, and Saleh is a big part of the reason why LaFleur is in the situation that he's in now. I get all that, but there aren't a lot of guys that would do that. So I say kudos, and he's not overlooking the defense because the defense has been pretty darn good. They don't seem to really need a ton of help on that side. They said he's pitching in more on the offensive side of the ball. I say kudos to Matt LaFleur.
100%. This is great. Good to see that a guy who was fired because someone else was hired is actually getting a chance to prove himself. If you'll remember the last time Robert Saleh had a real chance to prove himself, he took his team to the NFC Championship. This is great. As much as I was a anti-Robert Saleh guy, it wasn't so much him, the coach. I respect his play calling, and defensively, he is one of the minds of this generation.
Niner fans were begging for him to come back.
Exactly. It was always the situation. It was always the Jets. That it was set up for him to fail from the beginning. And no wonder he did. Good on him for going to an up and up or an organization on the up and up like the Packers. I think it's a good career step for him.
Yeah, I agree it is. And can't hurt to have another set of eyeballs, another set of ears within the organization. As long as roles are defined, everything is clearly sort of put out there. I don't have a problem with it at all. But, man, the guy didn't even want to take a few weeks off. Like, go to Aruba.
Grind
Cancun.
never stops.
Man, kudos to Robert Saleh. Just jumping right back into the fray. We'll be jumping back into the fray. Contender Pretender, NFL Week 8 edition is next. All right. Do some baseball coming up in 10 minutes. Something to consider. Home field advantage. Why the faces? Why the faces?
I was thinking baseball. They still play that. Rob Manfred gave us a week between the CS and the World Series.
I know. Here's the reason I agree with you on this. Not to go far afield, but I will for a second because you friggin' just threw like raw meat in front of me. But here's the thing. In sports like the NBA and NHL, I get the difficulty in moving stuff because of the fact that a lot of times those arenas have concerts and things like that are in between. You could have WWE, you could have wrestling, there's all sorts of stuff that those arenas can do.
It's a great point.
What the hell are you doing with Dodger Stadium and Yankee Stadium? Nothing! You're not doing anything! There's nothing holding you.
The Pinstripe Bowl isn't for like 3 months.
Billy Joel's not playing Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium in this week. Okay, thank you. I got that out of my system. Contender Pretender, Sam Yarnell, a Week 8 edition of Contender Pretender. What do you got for us?
All right, we'll start things out on a very serious note, Jason, because I've got a message for the people that they all need to hear, folks. We'll start with my pretenders this week. The number one pretender, maybe in all of football right now. No, it's not the New York Jets. Yes, it's the Miami Dolphins. To do anything this year, the Miami Dolphins are complete and total pretenders. They're what? 2 full games back of the Bills and a tiebreaker loss. And let's remember what happened last time Tua Tagovailoa tried to come back from a concussion injury mid-season, or I should say during the same season. The second time he was sacked in the first game back, he was reconcussed and missed the rest of the season. You can't rely on things like that. I don't know why there are so many people out here saying, buy low on the Dolphins now, buy low on the Dolphins now. No, we've seen this before, folks. They're complete and total pretenders. Another pretender, the New York Jets. I don't care what Green Bay Packer they bring in this week. Randall Cobb is still retired. Maybe that's their newest free agent signing. Whoever it is, maybe it's B.J. Raji. They'll bring him in for some help on the defense. Whoever it is, guess what? The Jets still aren't doing anything this year. They're pretenders. They'll have a top 10 draft pick in the draft. My final pretender, they showed it to us, well, at least to me on Monday night. Jason wasn't watching. It's the Los Angeles Chargers. My goodness, you play with your food with the Arizona Cardinals and you lose that game in a turning point game in the division. Not a division game for sure, but you win that game and your record in the division is completely competitive, not to mention the AFC wildcard picture. Dolphins, Jets, Chargers, all pretenders to do anything. Now for my contenders. My first contender, Jason Page, is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are contenders to draft Travis Hunter first overall. This team is bad. We talked about how they were in disarray earlier in the show. You gotta go Travis Hunter with the number 1 overall pick. He fixes not only the hole you have at wide receiver, but also the hole you have at cornerback. It's the best of both worlds for just 1 pick. Travis Hunter getting drafted by the Patriots, at least they're a contender for him. The Cowboys are a contender to finish last in the NFC East. That's right, they might be worse than the New York Giants this this year. I think the Cowboys have a realistic chance of selling pieces as we get close to the deadline, especially on the defensive side of the football. Listen, we know it's not their year, but Jerry Jones is having a meltdown. The Cowboys are contenders to finish last in the division this year. And my final contender, Jason Page, the NFC West. Why? They're contenders to be the worst division in football. My gosh, they had one bright spot coming in, and that team has maybe been the single-handed biggest letdown, maybe the Bengals, in all of football. The NFC West may be the worst division in the sport.
I didn't know we were going backwards this week. We had pretenders first, then contenders. It was kind of interesting.
I had to start things out on a serious note. Let the people know where I was at.
Okay. I'm just curious if there was a change in the format of the show that somehow I wasn't made aware of. I somehow missed that. I will go contenders first, and my contenders are all Super Bowl contenders. And Sam, you might be surprised to know at the top of my list for Super Bowl contenders are the Buffalo Bills. Plus 63 through the first 7 weeks of the NFL season. Look, as much as I want to say that the Chiefs are inevitable, because I picked them to win a third straight Super Bowl. As much as I want to say that, I don't think anybody is inevitable in this league right now. I don't think anybody's even close to inevitable, despite the fact that the Chiefs are the last team standing as an unbeaten. I don't think they're inevitable, because I could see a scenario where there's a few teams that they could meet up with in the postseason that could beat them. I think the Ravens, I think their game travels well. We'll get to them in a second. I think what the Bills do travels well. So I think there's a possibility that the Chiefs could get picked off. Now, obviously, I could put them in as a contender to win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to do that for the sake of this conversation because it's an obvious one. My next one, the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, we keep saying it every week. The only concern I have about the Ravens is this. They let their foot off the gas pedal. And it is now established fact. There is enough precedent here that this team, when they get leads, backs off. That game against Tampa Bay the other night wound up being a 10-point game. It really was a 21-point game. But there are too many times I see this team just take their foot off the accelerator instead of putting their foot on the throat of some of these teams that they're leading big on. That's my only concern with them. Otherwise, how do you not consider them a Super Bowl contender? My third one has to be the Detroit Lions. I am bullish on the Lions right now and what they're doing. Love the Lions. Jared Goff, I said it earlier in the show, sprinkle. You're talking about an MVP candidate right now. You can get him at 7-1, and as Sam pointed out, that number is sure to keep dropping the way that he's playing right now. My pretenders. And look, it's a shame that somebody has to win the NFC South because nobody deserves to win the NFC South, Sam. But my pretender is the NFC South. I mean, look at that division right now, and I don't care who wins the division. They're not going anywhere. The Falcons getting dusted at home against Seattle. Tampa Bay now with the litany of injuries, and that's the shame. Tampa Bay, through the first 7 games of the season, was the team that I could have looked at in that NFC South and said, hey, they might be able to make some hay in the postseason. With the injuries they've sustained, that's obviously going to be a lot more difficult unless they make a move at the deadline. And then last but not least, in that NFC South, the Saints, who are a dumpster fire right now at the quarterback position with all the injuries they've sustained. 2-5 after a 2-0 start. They've dropped 5 straight. So my contenders, Ravens, Lions and Bills. NFC South are pretenders. We're coming back. SportsWrap continues on this Thursday, start of Week 8 in the NFL. We went NFL heavy the first half of the show. And now, the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. Sammy Arnell, let's talk some baseball. And not just the World Series. There's some other stuff to dig into. Look at the World Series Game 1 odds. Yankees-Dodgers, Cole versus Flaherty. Yankees plus 108 in that opener of the series on Friday night. Minus 126 for the Dodgers. I was at bowling last night. And somebody was talking about, So they got offered a pair of tickets for like box seats for Dodgers Yankees, and it was $17,000. The economy's terrible. The economy's awful. I mean, it is. It's just terrible. Nobody can afford anything. You can't get milk, but you could go get Dodgers Yankees tickets for $17,000. Dodgers minus 122 to win the series. The Yankees plus 104. I hear value. Anytime you can get the Yankees as a plus number, don't you do it, Sam?
See, so here's just from a straight value perspective, it seems like it's a miscap on the Dodgers, actually, because that's a team. The team has home field advantage. Normally, when a team has home field advantage, you'd see them booked as more of a favorite. Yeah. So I don't really understand it. I don't understand the line from that perspective. Now, again, and I feel like I say this whenever we get into one of these big games, you have to take the books line with a grain of salt, because these are the games that they have insane positions on one way or another. The book very clearly has a position on who they want to win this series. I should say series, right? Game by game, they don't really care. But there are people out there sitting on, plus 900 Yankees to win the World Series tickets from when they went on that, lost 9 of 12 game streak back in May.
Yep.
And there are people out there sitting on, plus 500 Dodgers to win the World Series tickets. So you got to limit hedge opportunities.
Hold on, Sam. Hold on. We got some news just in. Hold on. Giancarlo Stanton just hit another home run. Hold on. Emmanuel Clase just gave up another home run. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. We're good.
I think that there is value in the markets, just some light looking that I've done through them. They seem miscapped. The book, for whatever reason, thinks Aaron Judge is going to become this all-time postseason hitter in this series. So, yeah, I'm going to say there's value on Giancarlo Stanton at 6-1 to lead this series in home runs. You just saw what he did in the ALCS. Hot hitters stay hot. Now, the other side of that cap is something Jason and I have been talking about on the show all week. You're talking about a hitter that now has gone a whole week without seeing live opponent pitching. Sure, you can do sim games as much as you want, and I'm sure Giancarlo Stanton has faced Garrett Cole, but at the end of the day, Garrett Cole's fastball looks a lot different than Yoshinobu Yamamoto's. So, I don't know. It is a tough series to cap, and I think, Jason, at the end of it, it all goes back to that conversation you and I touched on lightly earlier before Contender Pretender. There is a systematic problem with letting 5 days run between when you set the World Series and when you start the World Series.
Stanton and Soto are the two that I'm looking at for potential World Series MVP right now. Soto at 550, Stanton at 950. I'm not even looking at Judge at 500. I'm not looking at Ohtani at 230. Just not enough value there for me to go and put money on Ohtani at 230. Boy, is this going to be a fun series, though, Sam. I am so pumped. I'm actually writing a column on it for MSNBC today, just talking about there are enough storylines just within this World Series to fill. If Netflix wanted to do a documentary, they could do one tomorrow on just this series, because I think there are going to be so many storylines that emerge on it, from Ohtani and Yamamoto signing with the Dodgers and what that means, going into the season, to the Soto drama. Will he, won't he sign with the Yankees? Judge, the huge contract, and trying to live up to the expectations of being the Yankee captain. I mean, there are so many storylines that go into this series. I can't wait, Sam.
I got 3 World Series MVP picks for you, and this is off the top of my head. Complete transparency. This is the first time I've mentioned, or the first time I've looked at the market. Garrett Cole at 33-1. I think that's an incredible play, and we've seen the writers give this award to pitchers before in recent history. Tommy Edman also at 33-1. Hot hitters stay hot. He was great in the NLCS. And Kike Hernandez at 30-1. Obviously a guy who has more World Series experience than I think anyone else in this World Series. Kid can hit. Let's ride.
I think you're missing one too. If you believe the Dodgers are going to win the series, Teoscar Hernandez. He's a Yankee killer. He is a Yankee killer. So I look at Teoscar Hernandez, Yankee killer.
It's a good bet.
Yeah,
it's a good bet.
He could be public enemy number one in New York as well. Real quick, we got a minute left here. Major League Baseball says it wants the Tampa Bay Rays playing in Tampa next year. This despite the fact that some people are saying, hey, why not Oakland or why not Montreal or all these different places? Make them the traveling Wilburys, whatever you want to do. Not going to happen. Major League Baseball wants them in Tampa. Makes you think they could be playing potentially where the Yankees play their spring training games.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that. My mind, being the college baseball fanatic I am, immediately thought there's great college baseball in that part of the country and some really nice facilities. We might get the first rain delay in the history of Tampa Bay Rays baseball at home. That's going to be really cool.
Sam, what do you think about the idea of the Mets getting Juan Soto? You got 5 seconds.
It's not going to happen.
Hey, look, it's Steve Cohen. He's saying what? I don't understand. We're coming back. Something to consider next. Odds and ends right around the corner to wrap things up. But first, Sam Yarnell, something to consider. Home field advantages or disadvantages. Sam has home field. And I was just thinking about this. I was watching the Clippers game last night while I was bowling. I got so much to say about my bowling right now, but nobody cares.
It's true.
It's true. It's true. I got
No one cares. Get to the sports.
First of all, don't disrespect bowling. It is a sport.
Okay, that's not what I meant.
My version of it. My
sports.
version of it may not be very good, but it hasn't been lately. I'm actually considering retirement right now. Could you retire from a sport you're not a professional in? I guess you could. So I want to talk about home field advantages or disadvantages. You are bright red. You look like a tomato.
I don't think I've ever laughed this hard on this show. That was really funny.
I was watching the Clippers game last night and watching Kevin Durant miss a couple of free throws up against the backdrop of the new wall that they have at the Intuit Dome. The fan wall, which it's kind of got like a college vibe to it. It's pretty cool. I don't know how exciting that wall is going to be when they're, 15-22 through 37 games. But for now, at the early part of the season, it still has some cachet. That being said, I was thinking about it and I'm like, man, there aren't a lot of places left in professional sports. And I make sure to make the distinction between professional and college because college is you still have that home field advantage. There, Notre Dame fans might travel. There might be a few college fan bases that travel or that are scattered around the country. But in general, in a 100,000 seat stadium, which is what you get at a lot of colleges these days, there's an inordinate number of home fans there. But it's not the case in professional sports today. And I was trying to think to myself, where is the home field advantage in professional sports anymore? You look at Los Angeles, Chargers and Rams, they're almost always a huge influx of road teams coming. Las Vegas, even some of the bigger, like perennial NFL powerhouses. Fans are traveling more than ever. Again, the economy's terrible, though. Tell me how bad the economy is, because not only is every stadium full in the NFL, no, not every stadium's full, but fans are traveling from other cities to see their favorite teams in some of those cities. But the economy's terrible. Another topic for another time. To me, I'm trying to figure out where the legit home field advantages are. I say the New York Knicks, still a huge advantage. Hockey's a different animal, so I'm kind of keeping hockey out of the equation. But Madison Square Garden, still as raucous and loud as it's ever been. Staples Center, it's kind of, wine and cheese. Everybody's rich, get there early, get there late, leave early. The Dodgers get there late, leave early. Seattle, I'll throw that in as one of the legit home field advantages in the league. But I'm trying to figure out where the home field advantages are left in sports because there's not a lot of them, Sam.
Pittsburgh, Buffalo. Two off the top of my head.
Because nobody wants to go to Buffalo.
So it leads me to this thesis. Because I was thinking about this as you were talking.
Yeah.
And as we think of these atmospheres, where they're the most prevalent, European soccer, college football, and these unique locations that we're mentioning that, as Jason said, no one wants to go to. It's not necessarily that. It's that they aren't huge tourist attractions, and there aren't many things to do in those locations outside of see those teams. Same is true with every college town, right? So the point of that is it draws the diehards. The same is true over across the pond in England, right? When you look at some of these raucous, just rowdy stadiums like Old Trafford at Man United. Man United's not in downtown London. It's up in northern England. Like, everyone has this weird conception that Manchester United's in the heart of London. It's not. It's out in the country. But no one seems to realize that because it's this raucous atmosphere that we Americans associate with urban culture. The reality of the situation is, when it comes to sport, the further you get from the urban center, the more diehard the fans get, and the worse or better for the home team the atmosphere, as we're calling it, is. I think the Mecca is the great outlier, right? Because when it comes to the Knicks and Madison Square Garden, they have diehards that have lived in that part of the country or that city, that island in Manhattan for 30 years. And being a Knicks fan is a generational thing. Going to see them at the Garden is a generational thing. I think that them being a unicorn is even more evidenced by the Brooklyn Nets moving across town. Barclays Center is a nice arena. It is a very urban arena with a lot of assets to it, I guess. I don't know the word I'm trying to think of, but we'll go with that. They don't draw near the same crowd or have near the same atmosphere that the Knicks do, as Jason said. So I think that we have these unicorns and these outliers, but in general, it's the further you get away from the metropolis, the harder the atmosphere gets to play in.
Yeah. And, in hockey, those fan bases don't seem to travel as much. They're even the most diehard fans. I'll have to ask Dennis Bernstein about this the next time we have him on, which hopefully we'll do next week. But the hockey fans don't seem to travel as much.
Well, do you remember a couple of years ago in the Stanley Cup Finals when the Lightning were in it and you had to provide a Florida zip code buy tickets?
That's right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, when you get to the Stanley Cup Final,
yeah, right. But by the way, Winnipeg in hockey, that's your barn. That place rocks year in, year out.
Oh, I thought it was Phoenix with the Coyote. Oh, no, they're not there anymore. How they doing in Salt Lake City? Oh, we're out of time? We're coming back. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. But before we do, a reminder. Make sure to check out SportsWrap with Jason Page, the podcast version. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, a whole bunch more. Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can get this show. But we're also available on over 220 affiliates on television across the country. Coming to Canada. Oh, Canada. We will be there starting November 2nd, thanks to Fubo and the Game Plus channel. I'm excited. Looking forward to that. What, Sam? You look like you got something to say. Go ahead.
No, I'm continuing the wonderful Canadian national anthem for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Without any further delay, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Can we just call it the end already for the Detroit Pistons? The Pistons be pistoning. Last night, 6 men on the floor. I got a technical for 6 guys on the floor. And it wasn't like 6 guys in a huddle, at the free throw line accidentally. They had 6 guys on the floor while the ball was in play. Like, while there was actual action on the court. Sam? Anything to say about that?
I'm trying to find a live Detroit Pistons win total to see if there's an opportunity to bet under here. 19.5 were the low numbers we're seeing.
Take the over.
It's 25.5 for the Pistons right now.
It's 25.5?
Let's house the under. I mean, come on. We really think this team is going to win a third of their games? No, come on.
It's really 25.5?
Over on DK, minus 110 for the under.
Wow. Under 25.5 on FanDuel is plus 110. That's why you got a price shop. Over 25.5, minus 134. Just saying.
Who thinks the Detroit? Wait, what am I missing? Why are the Detroit Pistons? They signed who? Like Tobias Harris, right?
Tobias Harris, second tour of duty. By the way, the Warriors number after they beat the snot out of the Portland Trailblazers last night, their win total 44.5. I might be leaning to the over. If you believe in a resurgence for Andrew Wiggins, you're taking the over. Over 44.5, minus 114. Under 44.5, minus 106. I just wanted to throw that out there. Wasn't planning to talk about it. Don't even have the B-roll for it because we're still looking at the Pistons with 6 guys on the floor. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But just saying. What's the matter? You got a bewildered, puzzled look on your face.
I'm deeper. I hate that we're wasting so much time in this segment talking about the Detroit Pistons, but
so we moved to
how on earth is this team's win total 25.5? Their offseason additions are Tim Hardaway, Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley. That's it. And so Tobias Harris, not good at basketball anymore. He kind of proved that last year. Their starting center, the center who gets the majority of the minutes, right?
You're still talking about the Pistons right now.
Yeah, I know. It makes no sense.
I'm making fart noises into the microphone because I think that's more intelligent than talking about the Pistons this long.
This team is bad.
Okay. Kennesaw State. Ha! The end of sanity, ladies and gentlemen. Kennesaw State defeats undefeated Liberty last night. Did Kennesaw State even have a win going into that game? The answer is no. Liberty was undefeated. How does this happen? They were 26.5 point or 27.5 point underdogs, whatever it was. Wow. What was the money line? Was there even a money line?
Yes, it was better than 10-1. I can't remember if it was plus 1060 or plus 1600. One of the two. If you bet it, congratulations. You might as well retire right there because you're never going to hit another one like that. Shout out to Kennesaw State's social media admin after the game, or maybe it was the Barstool Kennesaw State account, whatever. They went through. Anyway, Liberty, if you do the by process of elimination opponents, like Liberty beat X and X beat Vanderbilt and Vanderbilt beat Alabama and Alabama beat Georgia. So basically Kennesaw State just beat Georgia. They laid it all out and it was hilarious. It was really funny for a 1-6 team to go out and do that. Hey, first win in the FBS. How about that? They're alive and well in Conference USA.
There you go. I love it. Last but not least, the NFL, and of course, Thursday Night Football, Sam Yarnell. And if we're talking about Thursday Night Football, we're talking about the Rams and the Vikings in Los Angeles, where there will be plenty of Vikings fans on hand, I am sure. Rams minus 2.5. Is this a get-right spot for the Vikings at minus 142 on the money line? What are you thinking? Rams plus 2.5. Right? Rams plus 2.5. Vikings obviously minus 2.5. 48.5 is your total. We have been kings of prime time, so we have to offer up a winner for our loyal viewers. What's that? What's that going to be?
Matt Stafford interception plus 106. We've been doing this all season. Brian Flores' defenses have been so good at confusing quarterbacks. I know Matt Stafford has familiarity playing against Brian Flores defenses. All that said, that's going to be my winner. If you force me to pick a side, Vikings get right. I like the over 2. It's a fast track out there in LA.
Yeah, give me the Vikings minus 2.5. That's where I'm going. That's my spot if I'm going anywhere tonight. Vikings minus 2.5. Sam Yarnell, thanks to you, because it was only you on the show today. It's going to do it for us. We'll see you back here on Friday, a NASCAR Friday. We'll see you then.